Three men and a multiverse of sci-fi's finest spacecraft. But which ones can claim to be the greatest ships ever? Welcome to Space Doc Jury.
Welcome to Space Doc Jury, episode 35. I'm Lee, and I'm bringing the Narn G'Quan heavy battle cruiser.
Well, in order to counter that, I'm Peter, and I'm bringing the Centauri Primus class battle cruiser.
And I'm Andy, and it's the year we took back what was ours. Also, I'm bringing the Warlock class advanced destroyer.
Which happened after we took back what was ours, and we.
Exactly. Once we take it, it's one of those ones. You know, the horse, the stable door had been fixed and bolted, and then the horse returned.
Yes, heavily armored for a
heavily armored. Oh yeah, you don't want to fuck around with this horse
with a conflict that it didn't need to fight. Anywho, let's get to that later. So, yes, as you probably guessed by now, we're into Babylon 5, my good and dear friends. This is episode 35. It is season 3, perhaps, of Babylon 5, no less. I'm going to keep doing this voice until it starts to sound like something else. I don't know what. I don't know, Muppets, perhaps. Anyway, yes, so we're going to be doing Babylon 5 ships this week.
Yes, we'd like to apologise to all our listeners in Transylvania for that horribly offensive, whatever that was.
Yes. The creatures
Are you taking the piece?
One Centauri battle cruiser. Two Centauri battle cruisers.
One non-homeworld turned to dust. One soul of the Centauri people taken away by the shadows. Anyway, moving on. I've suddenly become Indian. Moving on. It's not the love.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Just keep.
Get out of there. Get out.
Welcome to the vaguely racist podcast here on Space Dog Jury. Sponsored by George Lucas's Asian Aliens. Right. Anyway, yes, so before we get going, let's start this week with our top 10. Well, it isn't our top 10 because we had no change at the top 10.
That's not changed in God knows how long.
No, that hasn't changed at all. So what
we're not aiming high anymore at all.
No, we're aiming at the low bar.
We're plunging the depths. In fact, coming soon, submarine Doc Jury.
Yes, exactly. Well, we all
Stingray.
Yeah, all we do is we take different decks of the Red October.
Oh yeah,
just compare different decks. Anyway, that's another gag from the Black Dog. Let's not go down that route. Right, okay, so let's do the bottom 10 as that had the most changes in it. So last week. Well, I say last week, but it was, by the time they hear it, it'll be the week before.
Last time out, then.
Last time on Space Dog Jury.
On.
Exactly. And yes, and so at at number 10, during the Great War of the bottom of the 10, we have the Speedo Ghost with 28 points, my good and dear friends. At number 9, with the bigger boobies, we have the Nell from Battle Beyond the Stars. The booby theme continues to the great center.
Stop! Make it stop!
He's already dead. Okay, the booby theme continues with the Life Force Vampire ship, bringing its boobies in with 26 points at position number 8. We carry on with the double entendres, however, with the big red one from Milo and Stitch at number 7. We're also with 26
Milo
points.
And Stitch?
Lilo and Stitch? Lilo and Stitch? Little and Stitch? I don't know. That crappy Disney one. And then moving on with pendulous ships hanging down from it. It's the ID4 Mothership, which has got 25 points and is at the 6th worst thing in our list, but not as bad as the shithole Voth City ship, which is
new entry.
Yeah, in with a bullet at number 5 with 23 points. The Voth City ship just sitting there exactly the same way as spaceships don't.
Or certainly should.
You shouldn't, yeah, exactly. The Thunder Road, the dustbin with a seat and maybe a poorly constructed door on the front, sits with 23 points at position number 4. And then, dislodged from its bottom shitness position into position number 3, we have the USM Auriga from Alien Resurrection. At number 2, we have... Hold on, it's all gone wrong.
It has slightly.
You just did number 2.
You know what threw me?
You missed out the Ark in position 9, I believe.
Oh, I always do that.
So the question for you is: do you want to just start this over again, or we should try this out?
No, I tell you what. This is the shit 10, and I don't think I should give it any more qualification than just there you go. It's shit. So at number 9, which I missed, was was the Ark from Transformers. And at number 1 is the Zygon spaceship, looking like someone just sat on a Rubik's snake with 15 whole points.
To be honest, I think if someone actually did sit on a Rubik's snake, it would have looked better.
Yeah. I mean, I apologise for the terrible reading of the bottom 10.
Once again, we'd like to apologise for all our Centauri listeners for that horribly offensive.
Actually, I'd like...
and quite frankly, racist impression at the beginning of it.
Yeah, I know. Well, for what it's worth, I could have said I was counting the top 7 on my penises, but I didn't. But anyway, yeah. So, I frankly, I gave it all the reverence it deserved. Frankly,
yes.
Right. Anyway, so. So as is tradition, the person who lost goes first, and as we have already established, the Zygon spaceship has the worst possible position on the table with 15 whole points.
The only way is up, literally.
As Yaz and the plastic population once said. So, so it's over to you, Pete.
Okay.
The
Centauri Primus class battlecruiser, presumably nothing to do with Transformers. The backbone of the Centauri Navy. Whenever they wanted Londo to wheel out the big guns, this was the ship that would turn up for duty. Mm-hmm. Built by, and it's impossible not to say this in some sort of crap Centauri impression, House Tavari Armaments. What's Havaria Orbital Shipyards at Tolonia 7. Yeah.
Excuse me, there's nothing crap about my Centauri accent. It's just how you listen to it. You're just listening to it wrong.
If it stayed in the same place, it wouldn't be so bad. It's the fact that it's travelling all around the world. Anyway.
Carry on.
They were notoriously used in the bombardment of the Narn homeworld with the outlawed mass drivers, tut-tut. Reflecting the elegant stroke decadent, you pays your money, you takes your choice styling of the once glorious Centauri Republic. These babies were kind of sort of manta ray shaped, purple dealers of death, usually arranged in staggered wedge formations to make up for their lack of fighter escorts. Apparently the only way to easily take them out was to go round the back, which seems like a silly plan, but there we go. The Primus have been around for a while, since the glory days of the Republic in the 2150s, with an upgrade in 22-23 onwards of 8 twin-barrel pulse cannons, replacing the original armament. She also sported 4 heavy X-ray cannons and was retrofitted with the Dread mass drivers in 2259 to spoil the Narn's day. So, in terms of specifications, I'm relying heavily on a wiki that seems to be drawing its figures from all over the place, some of which actually disagree with one another, so this is going to be fun. But apparently the generally accepted dimensions are, in terms of length anyway, is 1,586 metres.
Right, 1,586 metres, so that's 1.5 kilometres. That is a 10. There you go. Off to a strong start. You're already beating the Zygon ship. Pretty much done already. Even if you got
compared
one
to the
across
one
the
the
board.
Zygon ship got. Yeah,
yeah, just slightly. Right, go on in.
Speed wise, she's a big old ship. She's equipped with a gravimetric drive. which is a thing apparently. I mean, clearly she's not a speedy fighter. She's a lumbering cruiser, so she's 1 or 2 at best.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know how to do this because this is going to affect all 3 of us, to be honest.
Yes, we'll be sort of pegging, I should think, a lot of the time.
I was going to say, I mean, what do we have for the Omega class? He says, going back up the list.
Ooh,
for the Agamemnon, we had 1. Andy?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, you haven't been able to hear me for the last 5 minutes. I've been absolutely hilarious, and you haven't heard a word of it.
Okay, well, me and Pete can clearly handle it from here, so you know.
Apparently, I'm completely surplus to requirements. But as I was just yelling, it's 1. It's clearly 1.
It's clearly 1. Yeah, I know, but you know, we need to be clear.
Damn,
on this because...
muting him didn't work. Never mind.
Yeah, shit. Okay, so FTL's pretty straightforward, I think.
Yes, it is. That's your old jump cape technology. So that's a 3.
3, yeah. Maneuverability.
That she's a whale, a pregnant whale. So
Yeah.
a pregnant stingray or manta ray.
Yes. So definitely a 1 for that.
Yep. Now on to firepower.
Yeah. So if you're counting the mass drivers, which are
we are.
retrofitted, so I don't know what our approach to
They are listed as an optional extra in the dealer's manual.
Yep. Yes, exactly. And would Sir like to take the mass drivers? Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. Would you like to take the Geneva Convention in flouting weapons of mass destruction? Yeah.
And does it come with a fluffy dice? That's what I need to know.
and one of those little triangles, sort of like air fresheners that you dangle off the...
No, sir, the fluffy dice are outlawed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll fit the mass drivers, but there's a line we will not cross.
Not cross.
Yeah.
This far, no further.
Yeah.
Fluffy dice.
70s beaded seats, you can fuck off. Anyway, go on then. So this thing can bomb a planet into back to the Stone Age.
So we're talking city leveling here, which is a 9.
Yeah. All I will say, though, is the mass drivers are a retrofitted after thing to some, because we do see a Primus turn up at Babylon 5 at one point and get roundly spanked by Babylon 5 and a G'Quan.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
without damaging, well, okay, it kind of broke one of the prow bits on Babylon 5.
I was going to say, didn't it shoot the nose off the bloody space station at one point?
It was one of the docking arms.
But still not an insignificant amount of trashing. But, I mean,
I've got no problems giving it the mass driver because it was something fitted to it. All I was saying was, without that...
And there's obviously a distinction between that and, say, I don't know, the Genesis device on Miranda-class ship, which was just happened to be there on that occasion, whereas mass drivers are a thing.
Still burns.
As we said, it was a dealer-fitted option.
Yeah.
It came with the reflecting room as well.
Still burns.
You should get some cream for that, mate.
Okay, well the thing is, I'm gonna ask one last thing and maybe push, because I'm gonna throw you a bone here, because it's slightly bigger than city leveling when you consider that what they're doing is literally dropping at relativistic speeds things that are bigger than the tennis ball. They're throwing stuff that's...
Well, they're dropping asteroids down onto the planet.
That's
they're
continent
effectively
leveling.
rendering a planet uninhabitable.
Yeah, I was going to say that's continent leveling. Surely that's a bit bigger than just like, oh, I've just lost a city.
Well, I don't know, because then you go down to the planet, and the planet's still there, isn't it? The cities are leveled, but the ground is still there. It's not like they've completely sunk every continent or anything.
And we had this, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week with the Shadow of Intent, which was able to glass planets. And again, it would take forever to do it, but it can render the planet.
And clearly one shot doesn't take out a capital ship, which is 10.
But the Shadow of Intent, just for comparison, we gave a 12.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
I really should be paying attention to these casts when we do them.
Yeah, we gave the Shadow of Intent a 12 because it could, in theory, render a planet utterly desolate.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with the Primus is, I think when you fit it with the mass driver, and again, the thing with the mass drivers is you've got to harvest the asteroids somewhere and drop those down onto the planet.
But that's I mean, I don't think that really weighs into it too much because.
No, I'm not saying it weighs into it. I'm just saying it's more it's not a Genesis device. Peter's quite right in that, but at the same time, it's more the ship seems somewhat superfluous to the ability to do that.
Well, I don't know. It has to carry those things. You see the size of them. It's like half the length of the ship, just slung underneath like a big old... I don't think you could have a couple of fighters carrying that. Grabbed it firmly by the husk. Like two African swallows.
Good.
I mean,
it's a simple question of weight ratios.
It's not a question of where it grabs it. a 12 pound Primus can't carry a 400-ton coconut. No, sorry, hold on. No.
But if you drop it, how damaging would a coconut be if you'd launched it at relativistic speeds to the Narn homeworld?
Probably city leveling.
Probably, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Which I think is what he's asking for.
No, but when we're talking about a coconut, we're talking about things like the size of like entire cities. It's like literally chucking like 500 meters of rock. I mean, I don't know. I just would have picked that at 10 myself.
Hang on, I'm having a quick look on mass drivers on the old Babylon 5 wiki, as you do.
Yeah.
And see if it gives you any indication about anything there. And guess what? It doesn't.
No.
It just says it accelerates payloads to relativistic speed. It's like the railgun out of old Mass Effect on the Kilimanjaro class.
That's right.
I mean, where I come from, badass son of a bitch.
Where I come from, a mass driver is somebody who gives you a lift to church. So.
Yeah, oh, there you go. You not very useful. Okay, right. Okay, fine. I'm just looking up asteroids. Yeah. Here we go. This is just
because there's no variety there. They come out of a factory at a complete standard size and mass.
I'm just saying, if an asteroid is as big as a 20-story building, 200 feet on a side, it has the amount of energy equal to the largest nuclear bombs made today, in the order of 50 to 100 megatons. An asteroid like this would flatten reinforced concrete for 5 miles around ground zero and completely destroy most major cities in the United States. By the time you get to a mile-wide asteroid, you're working up to the million megaton range, and with 100 million times greater than the bomb that fell on Hiroshima. So if you're saying that any asteroid that's over 200 feet is going to do some serious fucking damage, and apparently
no one's arguing that. That's absolutely fair and true. But as Peter pointed out, we do see the Narn homeworld later on, and I'm not going to lie. It might have gone down a couple of stars on the Yelp reviews.
Yeah,
gone from 4 to maybe 3.5, 3.
It's looking a bit Grimsby, let's face it.
It's gone a bit. I'd say more Skegness myself, but
okay.
Yeah. Still, I can't help but think the beach resorts aren't quite as popular as they once were.
Okay, right. Well, I was just trying to find out what the size of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs was, and they're saying it's 100 kilometers across.
It was big.
Yeah, so we can't have that.
That was my scientific term.
No, that's fine.
No, I've got no problems giving him either city leveling or thingy. It was more just making the point, because what is this cast if not an excuse to argue?
Well, exactly, exactly. That's why I'm following it through. I mean, you put the Shadow of Intent as a 12 because it ends all life on the planet, and in theory, a mass driver could do that, but it obviously would take an awful lot of them. So, I mean, I would say I would put it underneath that and put it as sort of a 10.
I mean, one could argue they weren't actually trying to destroy the planet, of course, because they wanted to occupy it. They just wanted to crush it.
Well, they wanted to strip mine it, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
pretty much strip
so
mine.
maybe they had the mass driver turned down to 6 rather than on full.
Bit like a toaster.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I reckon
Medium
I'm happy with
crush.
10 or 11 either way, So
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's balance it out and just call it 10. And then that way, Pete's asked for 9, he gets one more. You don't want it to be like 12, and then I think a 10's kind of where I was aiming for, or where I was expecting it to be. Let's put it that way. So cool. There you go.
Cool. Okay.
Right.
On to defence then.
Yeah. Go on.
If I can't think of anything.
No, it doesn't have point defence.
it's got interceptors, and you see that during the when it's attacking Babylon 5.
What's an interceptor?
A fighter.
It fires a little bolt of plasma to intercept bolts of plasma coming towards it.
Right.
So it's got a form of point defense system.
Cool.
That's a one then.
Okay. And passive?
They don't have shields, do they, in Babylon 5?
No.
The
outside of the shadows and the Vorlons, and even then that's more fancy armor. No, they don't.
No.
So we're looking at what, heavy armor 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. cool.
Well, yeah, I reckon heavy armor.
Okay, cool.
Again, it's going to impact on all our ships, isn't it? So
we see again. The Primus is kind of the older ship, isn't it? Because the more modern ones are those the Vorchans.
Vorchans, I think. Yes.
Yeah, Vorchans.
Yes, they're smaller.
They're smaller, but they're more advanced and stronger and stuff. I think. Maybe.
Yeah. Vorchans. That's where you get all your documents thrown up online.
Yeah.
There you go. Sad joke, pun. Forget it. Never mind. Moving on.
Want to wait for the crickets to finish?
Yeah. No. Fuck it. They had their chance. They knew the risks. Right. Okay. So what about special?
Well, it's not a carrier, so you don't get a bunch of ships. Sadly, you could expect a complement of Centauri troops to land and take over what's left of the Narn cities.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe one for that.
Yeah, I don't think that's unreasonable.
No, I have no problems with that.
Cool. And let's move on to the crew size then.
Okay, this is one of those where if you believe the computer game, then you're into the thousands. But according to the CD-ROM encyclopedia type thing, it's 212, which sounds a bit more realistic to me.
Yeah, that sounds more in line with what I've got for the Narn G'Quan as well, actually. So, so
that's a 4.
That's a 4, right? Okay, 4. Now this is going to be an interesting one. Competence.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because sometimes they're all conquering, although admittedly with a bit of help with the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the series, of course, they're in the process of having their asses kicked by the Narn. So,
yep.
Well, I don't think we should, judge the entire race on the wisdom of forming an unholy alliance with, admittedly, evil people, literally called the Shadows. So,
that was a giveaway straight away, wasn't it?
That a little bit. So, I don't think we should penalise them, especially for that.
All the way through, you should have been asking me for these scores. What do you want?
Yeah. What do you want, Ambassador?
Yes. Yes, but it's established policy that we all want to see your head on a pike and we'll walk by and wave.
Nice.
I think I'm going to put this to you two gentlemen. Feel free to shout it down, as I'm sure it shall be. In the absence of any obvious knowledge one way or the other, should we peg competence at a 3?
That makes sense to me. There's sometimes good and sometimes bad as well. So yeah, it seems fair.
There's no point is there ever anything that makes you think that they're anything other than just like basically competent. But there's nothing stupid like, I don't know, flying into a mountain from completely out of space.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, 3 sounds good to me. Okay, so here we go into what will become quite a regular feature, I think, arguing about the exterior of a Babylon 5 ship.
Yeah, good old dated Babylon 5 CGI. Yes.
Oh, hush you.
Well, you've been quite generous with it in the past. The White Star got a 3, despite being a horrible design. So I'm asking you at least for a 3 for this one.
Okay.
I have no problems with that.
Yep, no arguments there. 3 is...
That's the easy bit.
Yeah.
The interior, it's a bit more problematical, really. You see Londo reflected in a window.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, it's literally just a black room with a window at the end, isn't it?
He could have been stood anywhere.
Yeah.
And the fact is, he was probably just stood in the studio.
In fact, you didn't actually realise he was on the ship until you look out the window.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a lovely shot as the camera sort of pans outside the ship, and you see what you were seeing. But yeah, they don't exactly spend a lot of time giving you detail on the interior of the ship. It has to be said.
And based on previous Babylon 5 Centauri sets, it was bound to have lots of unnecessary columns and chiffon curtains. Yeah.
Well, it was that classic thing, wasn't it? That when they had the Emperor's throne room, which they then recreated when they conquered Narn, because cheap.
Yeah.
It's a perfect copy. How amazing! And they actually say that in the script. It's like, oh, really?
Yeah. Talk around your set dresser.
Yeah.
Nice. So go on then. What are you going to give it?
Well, 1 at most.
That's
it's
good.
got 1, but that's all you see is that little bit.
Okay. And then we're into science.
We'll have scientific and mass drivers, folks.
Well, pretty
quite
scientific, actually.
Yeah. They're relying on gravity, presumably, so that's a thing.
Yep.
Well, they use electromagnetic induction to accelerate things quick.
Yeah. Basically, like mag rails and all these sort of monorails and all these kind of
monorail.
Yeah, exactly. Monorail. Exactly. So you know how that sort of basically is.
I hear they have one at Shelbyville.
Yeah. Cue small interlude for having the monorail song.
I should point out as well, it was Ogdenville and North Haverbrook. Shelbyville never had a monorail.
No.
Tragic.
But basically it's basically a row of magnets that just super accelerates the metal inside the asteroid and just basically fires it out. It's like a railgun, and a railgun actually exists already.
Yeah. I mean, again, Babylon 5 ships, on the whole, when you're not talking about the more organic-y, shadowy sort of stuff, are pretty scientifically accurate. They're pretty scientifically sound for the most part.
Pretty much, yeah. You're looking at a 4, I would imagine.
I've got no problems with that, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, what were you going to ask?
What do we give the old?
I have no idea what to ask for, to be honest. But yeah.
What do we give the Agamemnon? The
4.
Agamemnon had a 4. Yeah, I've got no problems giving it a 4.
Yeah. There you go. So there you go. And now finally the cool factor.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 3. It loses a point for its slightly ropey CGI. So,
Okay.
But it's a nice looking ship in terms of the way they've put it together.
Yep.
So yeah, 3 for me.
Andy?
Oh, I'm giving it 3 because I don't think the CGI is ropey. And I think it's used to perfection in the series. And again, as with all the ships in Babylon 5, visually distinct. You can instantly look at it and say, that's a Centauri ship.
Yeah.
That's a Narn ship. That's a Minbari ship. So yeah, I like it.
Okay, cool. I'm going to give it a 3 as well because I like the Narn ships.
You mean the Centauri?
The Centauri ships, sorry. I like the Centauri ships because basically they're just cool and grandiose and stupid, and it just sums up the race entirely in a nutshell.
Yes.
So there you go. So the Centauri Primus comes rocking in at 53 points. Nice. Well, 53 points will put it sort of upper mid-table.
It's just below the Agamemnon.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go.
That sounds right.
Yeah, so it's just above the Shadow of Intent, just below the Nimbus. And yeah, that sounds about right. And about 1 point away from the Agamemnon. So there you go. And ironically, the Necron Tomb ship, which it kind of looks a little bit like if you squint.
Yeah.
If you squint, turn your head sideways and suffer a concussion.
Well, yeah, and it's above the and it's above the White Star as well. So there you go. That's kind of our scoring works. It works.
Jesus Christ.
There you go. So well done there, Pete. So cool. Well, let's move on then. 53 points for the Centauri. So let's have a look and see how the Narn are going to do, because I came second. So let's get on with the Narn G'Quan. Yes, the G'Quan class heavy cruiser were the backbone of Narn's regime naval forces up until their defeat by the Centauri Republic in 2259. They were there we go. The Makan Industries, located at the Wings of Jalan facility near Narn, was responsible for manufacturing this class of vessel. The majority of the G'Quan cruisers were destroyed during the Narn-Centauri War, mainly by shadow ships, it must be noted, with the greatest losses being suffered at the Battle of Gorash 7 in an attempt to destroy the main Centauri supply base. War leader Justine led an armada made up the bulk of the Narn fleet in an all-out frontal assault on the planet Goresh 7. Unfortunately, the planet was guarded by a small fleet of shadow vessels which intercepted the Narn armada and completely annihilated it.
That will put a crimp on your day, yeah.
Yes. Though it is worth noting that the G'Quan is the first non-organic ship to actually damage one of the shadow ships that we see in series. There you go. Strike one for the little guy. You got one shot in. Despite this, a few Narn cruisers did manage to survive the war, though most were crippled and left adrift during the Centauri rush to advance on the Narn homeworld. They were later salvaged by the Resistance, often requiring one ship to be cannibalized to repair another. Only the Jatok was left fully functional thanks to the intervention of the Babylon 5 forces when they asked for sanctuary. It would later play a key role in the war against the Shadows. The ships itself, there's not a lot of actual information about the design of the ships or where it, how people came up with it. Hold on. It was designed by Paul Bryant of Foundation Imaging and it was supposed to echo the shape of the Narn fighters, which had already been developed by Ron Thornton, while the striped hull markings were meant to reflect tribal art and war paint. The G'Quan first appeared in the episode Revelations as a replacement for the more rushed design of the Narn Cruiser seen early in first season, and would continue to be used as the primary Narn ship all the way through the rest of the series until into Crusade. And a rebuilt version even appeared in the Lost Tales DVD movie. Doesn't matter. Either way.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah. So, most of the facts came from the Babylon 5 Encyclopedia CD, the official guide to Babylon 5 CD-ROM. So, shall we rate this bugger then?
Let's do this thing.
Let's do this thing. Right, okay. Well, the first things first. The size, surprisingly enough, isn't from the wiki page for that. It's actually from the board game, believe it or not, which seemed to have an awful lot of stuff pulled out from the Babylon 5 technical manual, so I'm going to assume that this stuff is actually accurate.
The B5 tech manual's pretty good. I mean, back in the day, this was kind of like the writer's guide. You know, had a lot of, I mean, because JMS was very active on the online community, so you literally have people asking him questions, and he might not have a fucking clue, but he'd still answer,
right?
Which was always nice.
Always nice.
But yes, and I was shocked to find the B5 tech manual still out there. It's not been updated since 2006, but it's still out there.
Well, there you go. Right, okay, then, in which case I apologise because there's a little discrepancy between the B5 official manual, the tech manual, and then the B5 Encyclopedia CD. So we might have a little discussion going on here. But the one thing that they do agree on is the size. And the size, he says, trying to scroll down to the bit where he can see it, is 1,100 metres in length, which puts that at a 10.
I have a slightly different one. I'm just going to link you there to the B5 Tech Manual page.
Yeah, I think the B5 Tech Manual says it's like 1,400 metres or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. You see, here is where we
I happen to know that the CD, it was the Sierra CD, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of like the B5 security manual that was published.
Right.
They're generally not the best. Kind of like the Deep Space Nine technical manual is that when the author didn't know something, he just made it up.
Okay, so which one? So hold on. So let's get this end straight then. Basically, which one will I be favouring?
If I were you, I'd favour the B5 Tech Manual because they generally do a bit more due diligence in that respect.
Okay. Well, for what it's worth, even if it was 1,400 metres long, it's still a 10.
So I know one of those completely pointless arguments.
There you go. So as far as sublight and FTL is concerned and manoeuvrability, I think we can skip through those because it is 1 for sublight, 3 for FTL, and 1 for manoeuvrability. Unless anyone's got any arguments with that.
Nope. No arguments there.
No, that's what I figured. Firepower, though, unfortunately for the old G'Quan, it had 2 really powerful X-ray lasers up the front, and 2 twin particle cannons up the front, and energy mine launchers up the front, which basically meant that the whole thing was basically a big flying gun that only fired forward. And the problem,
it was something of a design oversight, it must be said.
Yeah. And so the problem is that it really didn't have a lot of power. These things couldn't really do a massive amount of damage. The 2 twin particle cannons could damage a ship of relative size, but it couldn't like one-shot it or anything. And so really, I think I've got to be. It's
also worth noting that the Narn were kind of coming off the back of 100 years of Centauri occupation.
Yeah.
At the beginning of Babylon 5, they were very much the
underdogs.
They were the most. They were the least powered of the major races, weren't they? They were just trying to find their feet again.
Yeah. So while I wouldn't ask for anything like a 9 or an 8, I'd probably be sort of thinking in a sort of 7-ish range, where it could do some major damage if it got a decent hit, but it needed to have a decent hit.
Yeah, I've got no problems with that. I mean, we saw that, like you said, it did damage a shadow ship. I mean, granted, they needed the telepaths to hold it in place and all that.
No, not in the first attack. The first attack when they...
Was it not?
No,
okay.
The first attack when they attacked the Centauri thing, all the all these shadows are cutting all the ships to pieces, and they turn the G'Quan round and basically fire like a concentrated stream of all of their weapons at one shadow ship, and they basically damage its arm. Its arm just basically snaps and bleeds.
All coming back to me.
Yeah.
Acid flashbacks.
So it's like a concentrated bolt of fire from every single weapon on the ship. Does
damage one leg.
Damage one leg, yeah, exactly. So it's not super powerful by any means. So a 7 for the firepower.
I've got no problems with that.
Yeah, it has nothing in terms of active weaponry at all. So I no point defense of any kind. As far as I can tell, or at least as far as I can remember, nothing's listed on either of the pages I've got open here.
I don't recall anything in terms of interceptors or anything like that. So.
No. It'll do a little better in the bit later on down the line. But a passive, it's got the same kind of. Now this is difficult because they're obviously weaker ships. They're weaker than any of the other major cruisers. So do we give them 2 for passive? Or do we acknowledge their status as a lesser armoured ship and give them a 1?
Well, they can still kind of hold their own for the most part with comparative ships. It's just when you're going up against the shadows, they seem to have that, perforated line down the middle.
Yeah, they do have a Brazilian landing. Yeah,
exactly. But again, the shadows are massively overpowered for what they are. So I'm happy with them still having 2, because it's not just how do they compare against other Babylon 5 ships? How do we compare against other ships that we've done? And I think 2 is kind of where they want to be at.
Okay, cool. Well, the next bit, do you disagree, by the way, Pete? Anything you want to add?
No, because, if you go for less than 2, then, what you're going to give the fighters in the Babylon 5 universe. So I think it's got to be at least heavy armour, hasn't it?
Okay, cool. Well, speaking of which, into special, we have that the G'Quan is essentially a carrier. And it has, hold on, where's my technical manual one? The technical manual says that, apart from the fact it costs 12 billion credits to construct, but I don't think we have to worry about that. Yeah, just pull that out of the bag. It has 24 Franzi or Frazi fighters. 24
Frazi fighters.
Fonzie! Hey!
24 Frazi fighters. And it also has troops, a standard complement of troops of 200. Though it goes up to a maximum of 1,000, but it doesn't really matter in our scoring system. So that's a 2 for special.
Yeah. Those fighters, by the way, I love those designs.
Yeah.
The non-fighters are cool. You get, with the Babylon 5 figures, they each come with a spaceship, which is a wonderful idea. I mean, it's obviously tiny compared to the size of the figure, but still cool. And the one that comes with the Narn one is fantastic, really cool.
We should remember that for when we do a fighters episode, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Because it is a really lovely
I've
ship.
also got, on the B5 tech manual, it lists electromagnetic defences.
Is that some kind of attempt at shields? Because I
think that's. I don't think it's shields. I think that was some sort of attempt at jamming or something like that.
Oh no, there's a whole section about radar. Hold on. Oh god, blimey, hold on. There's a whole thing about the fact that the one thing it did have was a massive radar pulse. That it could see things much further than any other ships. So I think this is the game bit now coming up. But it's essentially that it could sweep an area. So it could jump in and
sounds
sweep
like
an area.
the older tabletop game thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it could jump in and sweep an area.
I'm happy having another special point for that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Do mines count as well? Or are they offensive?
I think they're offensive, really, aren't
they? Yeah. Well, but then they are defending your ship if you've laid them out around yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't typically lay mines out to defend yourself, though. You lay them.
No, you're laying, defending a sector in space, aren't you? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. I think they're kind of part of your offensive complement.
Okay, fair enough. So that's 1 extra for the special for the radar sweepy thing. Okay,
yes, the sweepy radar.
Give me a 3.
Give me a 3 for special. Okay, size of the crew. Now, if you look on the CD, the Babylon 5 CD, they say crew of 200, which ironically matches with the technical manual saying there's 200 Marines on board. But the technical manual, or at least the video game as well, relates to the same thing, is that there's 450 officers on board the ship. 20 actual crew officers and 430 enlisted members.
Well, the bottom line is we do actually see the bridge of this one, and there's all of 3 Narns in it.
Well, that is true. That is true. So, I mean, again, this is where it all goes a bit wonky, because the B5 CD says there's 200 people on board that ship.
Well, the
as a
tech
crew.
manual I've got has 250 listed down.
Yeah, and then the video game says 450, which is 20 officers and 450 enlisted. So I think we just sit with 200 and be done with it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm fine
Which
with
gives us the same size as the Primus, which is a 4.
that. And they're comparative craft, so that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. That's why I was saying
Yeah.
earlier that it sounds like that's good because that gives me a sort of thing to aim for. But I needed to explain it just in case someone went, "Oh, hang on!" In one of these manuals, it says 400. Yeah, competence. I might just knock them a bit for the whole. Oh, look! Here's a big open target. Wonder why they've left this massive supply depot undefended. Maybe we should just jump straight in there without checking it out and just, oh, what a surprise, we've been ambushed.
You say that, though, but I mean, to be fair, when you see them like doing the whole thing to Zahadum, and again during the resistance period, I mean, especially with Jatok, the guy's quite on it. You know, he understands tactics. You know, he makes informed choices. If anything, I'd say what we see of the Narn military is above average for the most part. I don't think you can argue for a 4, but I definitely would say a 3 at least.
I'd peg them with the Centauri, to be honest. They're fairly evenly matched, aren't they? So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. I'll just mark it at 3 and not worry about. Personally, I think anyone who tries to jump into a active jump gate which is being fired upon by a bunch of shadows has definitely got some kind of issue.
What are you talking about when they go to Zahadum? Or when they're
no, when that was part of the attack was when they suddenly they attack the Centauri thing and they turn around and go run away, and then they turn around and as they turn around to run away, basically they open up a jump gate. The shadows just bombard the jump gate and it turns into a bigger lightning storm and it just blows them all up.
Yes,
Crackly.
Crackle.
Oh, hang about.
Crackly.
He crackles.
He still crackles. He is crackling.
Porky scratching.
Porky scratching. Oh dear.
Oh, he's disconnected.
Sorry about that.
No,
I had
he
to
isn't.
drop out. It's
Yeah.
just as bad as the other one.
Yeah, lovely. There you go. That's what you get with web-based things, I think. But
Yeah, it looks like it. My point that I was making is that they didn't really know the shadows or what they could do. So I would surmise that any other race running away was a sound tactic.
yeah, I guess so. I just don't know the necessarily the idea of the merits of basically going into a crackling wormhole.
Well, no,
Well,
they do
I've
say
had
that.
dates like that.
No, but
Oi.
they do say at that point they're already kind of committed. It's kind of like once you flip the switch, you're jumping one way or the other.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair point.
Because we also see when Sheridan's trying to escape the shadow ship, and he does the jump point inside the jump gate. It's a sense of once you pull the pin.
Yeah, that's it. You're committed.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Right, well, then let's move on. Let's stick with 3 then for competence and onto the exterior. Now, I think compared to quite a few of the Babylon 5 ships, this one actually looks nice.
Yeah, this is
fucking
one of the
love
best ones, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got the war paint and everything. And it's
the
just
war
cool.
paint, it's shiny. The panels don't all look the same panels. It's kind of
organic-y without being overly organic-y.
yeah. It's got the mechanical stuff inside with a lot of heavy detail. So I know that CGI blah blah blah. We've been around this 1,000
But this
times,
is one of their best ones, it has to be said.
and I would ask for a 4.
I mean, if you've been taking the other one, have you seen the other one they used in the first season?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. No,
Terrible.
No.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's a spiky smudge. I'm not having that.
Frankly, I'd give you a 5 if you asked for it, but I know Pete's not going to have it.
No, I
It's
know
not
that.
5, but I am happy with a 4.
Cool. There you go. As for the interior, well, you do see the bridge, but as you say, it's basically 3 Narns sitting against what could either be a real bridge set or possibly some spray painted red dustbins upended.
I thought it was. I thought they were using the Cylon fighter from Battlestar Galactica.
Probably
A little bit, yeah.
So purely based,
But they've got seatbelts though, so well done for that.
Yeah. Well, there's but there's a reason for that, which I'll say when I get to science.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, they've got no artificial gravity on their ships.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't.
Which is a very good thing, and so therefore gives them more in science, I think. But there we go. We'll get to that in a second. Interior, I'm going to ask for a 1 because you only ever see that bridge, and it's piss poor.
I don't know. It's not
really. Are you really going to?
It's not awful. I'd go for a 2 personally because at least
we gave what's his name, Chang's Bird of Prey just 1 because all you see is the bridge, and that was a better realised bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Oh, fair enough then. On that basis.
Yeah, definitely. We might.
Otherwise, Unreal kill me.
Yeah, I was going to say we might need to tweak Chang's bridge, to be honest, because at least
tweak his bridge.
Tweak his bridge. Ooh, misses. Mm-hmm. So on to science. Now with science, this is probably after like your Agamemnons and what have you. I think this is the most scientifically accurate of all the Babylon 5 ships because they don't have artificial gravity at all, and they basically everyone has to be strapped down, and it just doesn't go very fast. It literally is a scientifically accurate spaceship, as mad as that might seem.
I'm happy giving you 4 because, as a rule, Babylon 5 ones generally are. But X-ray particle beams, jump gates.
Oh, excuse me. X-ray lasers are a thing already.
X-ray particle beams.
Okay, so
and jump gates.
Jump gates. Fuck. Okay, 4. Right. Okay. So on to the cool factor. Well, I love this, and again, dodgy CGI, whatever arguments you might want to bring, I've got to say this ship was the first one that when it turns up in B5, you think, oh shit. I mean, it wasn't until later when you realise how weak as piss they are.
It was a bit of a paper tiger later on.
Yeah, exactly. But when it first turns up, and it's like, okay, this is not a ship that looks like it wants to really mess with anyone. Or you don't want to mess with it, rather. So I'm going to give it a 4, especially for that tiger stripe marking stuff on it. So what about you, Andy?
All of my points.
3 points.
I love this thing.
Okay, so that's 7. And Pete, what are you going to give it?
Yeah, this is my favourite Babylon 5 ship, I think. So I shall give it my full 3.
Okay, which is kind of ironic because that basically gives us 53 points, exactly the same as the Centauri Primus. The scores work. With totally different scores in different places, but we end up with exactly the same scoring. So that's there. That makes sense. I'm happy with that. Yay!
The system works.
The system works. It's only taken us 35 episodes, well, 70 if you count the minisodes to get to this point, but yay! Nice. Cool, so 53 points, which puts that right next to the Centauri Primus, as it should be. So, there you go. And now it's time to move on to Andy's.
So, yes, I was running out of blocky things with guns to do, but then I remembered the Earth Alliance, so I went to my Earth Alliance ship Rolodex, spun it around, and bing! We stopped at the Warlock class Advanced Destroyer from Babylon 5, or technically Crusade and the Lost Tales and stuff, but
Crusade.
It's that whole universe, shall we say. So yes, the Warlock class destroyer is an advanced warship designed and produced by the Earth Alliance. Actually began development shortly after the Earth-Minbari War, but development was rushed when a certain President Clark suddenly came to power. Some sort of need for big, heavy guns and stuff. You'd almost think he was running some sort of martial law, but the president doing something like that? No, what are the odds?
Yeah.
Never going to happen. The Warlock incorporated numerous advances, both observed from the Minbari and brought and stolen from other races, including things like artificial gravimetric plating for the first time, bioorganic armor, heavy fusion cannons, and this weird kind of black spidery sort of ship which they found on Io. Apparently they got a few ideas from there to try and incorporate it into it. It was rushed into actual production after the end of the Earth Alliance Civil War, since quite a few of the Earth Alliance ships actually got blown up in that. It's funny when there's Civil War, isn't it? You tend to lose all your ships because they're blowing each other up. As I mentioned, it was the first Earth Alliance ship to feature artificial gravity without the need of a rotating section, as you see in the Omegas. This was technology derived from the Minbari. It also allowed them to improve the speed of the ship because it didn't have a big spinning centrifugal section in the middle of it. It was, in fact, the fastest Earth Alliance capital ship. I think it's even faster than the Victory class, to be honest. But who cares about that? It's old Crusade bollocks again.
Yeah.
Its primary sensors, navigation and communications suite is located in the bow, including sets of retractable panels, which allows it to travel further for navigation beacons, extending its range further than any other Earth Alliance warship. But basically, this thing is it's all about the guns. It's big guns, lots of guns. It features a wide variety of offensive and defensive weapons, including particle beam cannons that were originally designed on the Aegis orbital defense platforms that were part of the Earth's planetary defense grid. Do you remember those things that Clark thought would be a fun thing to point on the Earth at the end of season 4? Yes. Has a set of those. These are exceptionally powerful. This was the first ship which was able to produce enough power to run those things, basically. And these cannons were powerful enough to literally one-shot Druk capital ships and Centauri Vorchan class heavy destroyer thingy-mabobs. It also incorporates things like missile silos, 12 large, 16 small, 9 heavy phased plasma cannon turrets, 13 heavy railgun 33 heavy railgun turrets, 4 40mm pulse cannons for point defense, 9 light pulse cannon turrets, and
Uzi 9mm.
Uzi 9mm. Hey mate, just what you see on the shelves.
Plasma rifle with the 40-watt range.
Anyway, where was I?
Being derailed by us.
Being derailed, but it always happens. When you get to the end of a cast, the alcohol has flowed. We're bored. We want to go home. Anyway, where were we? Yes. The ship also carries a large complement of Thunderbolt fighters, or Thunderbolt Star. They're called Thunderbolt Star Furies, which is just weird to me. But
yep.
Anyway, it carries a lot of them. It carries
the X-Wing ones.
Yes, the X-Wing ones, which can also enter the atmosphere and are very good for bombing Mars. Which apparently gets people into a thingy. I did have a number written down somewhere, but I've lost it. But it carries some. In addition, it carries a number of atmospheric shuttles as well for toing and froing and going down on all the planets and having adventures and so on and so forth. I think that's kind of everything there. I'll give you a bit of behind-the-scenes stuff because I have a whole paragraph of that.
Go on then.
It was designed by Tim Earls, originally designed as a much flatter ship. The design was changed on the suggestion of John Copeland, so that Earl redubbed the concept, his original concept, the Trafalgar class, which was never seen or heard of again. Why even include that? That's useless. No one cares about that. Stupid.
Here's what you could have won.
Yes.
Yay!
Anyway, yes, and again, I mentioned since the series made a big deal about how at the beginning of Babylon 5, the TV series, Earth didn't have the artificial gravity. The Warlock was designed to be the first to show that it had the artificial gravity stuff stolen from Maui, to show that Earth had technologically advanced over the course of the 5 years of Babylon 5.
Yes. But we never actually saw anyone on board it, so...
We never see anyone on board it, so when we come to the interior, that's going to be fun. But before we get there, we have to do the other stuff. And we start off with size. Yes. And its size is 1,993 meters, which is a reference to the air date of the gathering.
Okay, which still puts that at 10.
Yes. all of that for no reason other than that.
Okay. So, Sublight.
Now, on Sublight... Now, I'm resigned to the one, but I'm just going to enter to the audience here.
But I am going to complain.
Well, my point is, it specifically says it is far faster than any other capital ship in the Earth Alliance fleet. And it's supposed to be comparable up with the Charlene class and stuff like that. So...
Which we gave 2.
Can I be cheeky and ask for a 2 for Sublight? We do see it hurtling at a rate of knots in the Lost Tales as well, so you can't tell me you don't ever see it.
Well,
every time you say Lost Tales, I just think DuckTales, and now I've got that tune stuck in.
And let's be honest,
maybe that's the song to play over the Warlock.
Yeah. The other thing is also hands up anyone who's actually watched the Lost Tales.
Ooh, me, sir, me.
Okay, you and
Silence reigns.
So you're the person. You're the one.
Yeah.
Okay, Pete, do you want to give him a 2?
I've got no frame of reference on this one, I'm afraid.
Well, trust me, don't look on YouTube. You won't have any more frame of reference either. I mean, you do, it is as fast as Charlene. Well, Charlene's we gave 2, so there you go. Right.
FTL's 3, maneuverability is 1. It's no faster in FTL, and it's no more maneuverable than anything else.
Nope. So, into firepower.
Into firepower, well, it does count. I mean, when it comes to firepower, we pretty much just boil it down to what's the biggest gun the thing carries.
Exactly.
And the biggest gun this thing carries is the particle beams that were previously part of the Aegis orbital defense platforms. And these form part of the defense grid. These are capable of, well, a single Aegis has enough firepower to wipe out the entire eastern seaboard of North America. So that's a lot.
Yes.
So I'm thinking we're probably talking a 12 like the Shadow of Intent. It one-shots of Vorchan as well. It kind of just pops up and boom, it's gone.
12 is a planet eventually.
Yeah, a planet eventually. And I guess taking out like the eastern seaboard in a single shot would count. Yeah. It kind of...
it's got better firepower than a shadow ship, is it?
Well, this is basically, I suppose, to be the answer to the shadows that the Earth had working with them. All I'm going on is what we see in the show.
And do you see it do that?
Well, we see it one-shotting the Vorchan, and we don't actually see the Aegis fire, but we hear numerous times from Sheridan as he hurriedly runs to try and ram the thing, but go, just one of those on its own is enough firepower to take out the entire eastern seaboard of North America.
Okay. I mean, based on that, I think you can argue a 12. I mean, personally, I'm not happy about that just because of someone's throwing out an exaggerated claim.
Well, you knock it out to an 11 if you really want, but
I understand what you're saying, though. I mean, if it can do that, then it gets a 12. Well, what do you think, Pete?
We might err on the side of caution and give it an 11, I think.
Yeah. I'm kind of torn because if you got Sheridan saying that he can do it, then I don't see him as blowing.
But I mean, if you're pegging it 11, you're pegging it a shadow ship's capability, which seems to be about the maximum you get from Babylon 5, isn't it?
How say you, Andy?
All I'm going off of, I mean, I'm just going off of what we see and hear on the screen.
I mean, it's clearly more than a city leveler, but that's only 9.
Yeah.
So we've still got a couple of grades to go before we start wiping out continents.
Yes.
Well, I'm happy. Let's just, for the sake of peace in our time, let's just go with the
11.
Okay.
I have in my hand a piece of paper.
Yes, it tells us.
I have spoken to the Reverend Organ, and he has assured me he will not invade Czechoslovakia.
That's the weekend sorted.
Yeah. He invades Paris in a tank. Right. Anyway, so moving on to active.
As far as active defense goes, we do have point defense lasers, or what is it they call them? There is some measure of point defense stuff on there, like pulse cannons. There you go.
Yep.
For point defense. I think that's the only thing actively mentioned. I'm just having a quick look. It does say it has a defense grid energy projector, but near as I can tell, that's just bollocks. So I'm just asking for one.
Okay, fair enough. What about your passive?
For me, passive, I'm actually going to ask for a 3. These things were originally designed to take the Shadow bio armor, the nanotechy stuff, but they ended up splurging all of that on those Omega XE things that we saw at the end of Season 4.
I was going to say there was the Warlock class X class.
Yeah, the Warlock X class, but we're not talking about that. But they still incorporated improvements, kind of like you saw later with a Victory class, which had the kind of, they didn't look Vorlon-y, but they had like a bio shell to them to learn and improve stuff. So it's still not like shields or anything like that, but it's still far superior to what we see on something like a G'Quan or a Primus. If anything, it's kind of pegging it where the Charlins are at.
Well, again, we're talking about like nearly 20 years into the future from the G'Quan and the Primus anyway.
Yeah, so I think a 3.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Pete?
Yeah, fine.
Yep, cool. Specials.
For special, we have our Thunderbolt fighters.
Yes, that's one.
They're nice. We have a troop complement, which is useful for reasons, as you do. I think that's about it. There is mention in one of the short stories about how they have, and I'm finger quoting here, shadow tech in there, but they also make a point of not knowing what it does, and that's why they ended up sticking Kosh's old Vorlon transport in the middle of Ivanova's one. But they don't ever go into what that shadow tech does. So I'm not going to do anything with that. I think we'll just stick it at the 2 there.
I think.
I found the number of Star Furies. It had 42. See, I knew I had written down there somewhere.
There you go. So, okay, moving on from the 2 for special, what do we have for size of the crew?
Crew's complement is 1,200, consisting of, hang about, it's, and look something on internet.
1,200.
Well, it's 1,200, so what? You don't care how many are officers and how many are enlisted?
Not really, no. So that's a 6. 6 for your crew, and their competence.
Well, I could argue that only the elite of the elite got assigned to warlocks, blah, 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 blah. But the truth of the matter is we never particularly see. So I think in line with what we've done so far, I'll just ask for a 3.
Cool. 3 it is.
Although I will point out, Ivanova is the captain of one at one point. And if I was doing her one, I'd be asking for a lot more.
Well, I'm not. Yeah. Well, exactly. We're talking about generic class here, not a specific ship.
Yeah.
Okay, so here comes the interesting one. Exterior.
No, this isn't interesting. This is where you both give me the kicking. So
just let me put my heavy boots on. Hang on.
Yes.
I was going to say, Reverend first. No, what are you going to ask for?
You want to take a run up?
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you going to ask for first, Andy?
Oh, no, I resign myself at this point, but you two are going to give me a drubbing for it. I'll ask for a 2.
Actually, yeah, I'll give you a 2. What are you going to say, Pete?
Yeah, I think 2's the best you can hope for.
Yeah, I think so, because you don't really see it, and when you do, it's kind of blurring past guns are blazing, so you never really get a decent sense of it. It's only fan art and designs of stills for promotional that ever gives you any idea of what it is, and it's hard to work out what's promotional stuff and what's just stuff that people have made online.
Yes.
So
yes, an interior nil point because you never see it.
Nil point for the interior. Okay, so science.
Science, I think I'll go for a 3 here.
Mm-hmm.
Because Babylon 5 generally quite sound, but we've got artificial gravity, we've got eastern seaboard leveling, pulse cannon stuff, and all the usual baggage that comes with Babylon 5, like jump gates and everything. I don't think it's quite as silly as the Charlins or the Shadows.
No.
But still, I think it's not up there with the G'Quans and the Primus.
No, fair enough. And also, the amount of weapons it's got, I always have a sense that if it fired all its guns at once, it'd just roll over. or fly backwards. But
quite possibly.
Yeah.
Although it was interesting that its missile launchers fire both forward and backwards. So it gets past the G'Quan problem there.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, it's already got one up on the G'Quan. Yeah. Okay. So what about cool factor?
I'm going to give it a cool factor of 2.
2.
I do like the fan renderings of this. Specifically, I can't remember the artist's name, and that's terrible because I wanted to give him a shout out, and I can't remember it. No. Man looks up thing on the internet once again, desperately trying to find the. Here we go. It's Rowan 911.
Okay.
From Foundation 3D. Anyway, he does an absolutely fantastic. The model, here you go. Here's his name, Scott McEwen.
Okay.
Which you can get on Foundation 3D. The model is fucking gorgeous. I'm actually going to post a link to it in the chat so you two gentlemen can revel how beautiful a model it is. But unfortunately, what we actually see in the show was not as well realised.
No.
And with that in mind, I can't in good conscience give it any more than that.
No, well, I was going to say, I'm looking at that still, and that's lovely, really nice stuff, but it's got all sorts of textures and grid stuff going on there that just is not in the original model at all.
Oh, exactly, and that's why I'm saying I like the idea of the ship more than how it was executed in the show. Yeah. That's what I'm saying there, and that's why I'm only pegging it at 2 and not. I've got 2 more points I could give it if I chose.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It is also interesting. It's reminding me of the Marines machine guns, standard issue machine guns from Halo, but that's...
it does it, I suppose, yeah.
Hello. Anyway, what about you, Pete? What are you going to give it?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the images I came up with was that one. Where it just looks like a prawn. I'm sorry. More like a prawn than...
Why is it with you and prawns?
Well, just look at it. It's all bent over and it's even got the little green eye. And...
A question, have you ever actually been to a seafood restaurant?
Oh, yes, a few times.
Really?
And prawn pie.
What is wrong?
But yes...
That is not a prawn. I mean, it's a shit...
It is.
It's a shit image.
It's exactly like a prawn. All bent over.
It is not a prawn. This and the Normandy cannot both be prawns. Okay? You just can't.
This is more prawn-like than a Normandy.
Oh, I go along with that because now I'm looking at it because now you can see the little... if you do the little green dot as an eye...
exactly.
And then you've got little
got the
tentacles,
little
mandibles coming out the front. Yeah, okay, fine. I can see the prawn in that. That's fine. I got that. But your love of prawns is a dismissal. I think you're very prawnist.
But anyway, I'm giving it 1 because it looks crap.
Okay, right, fine. Okay, well, I have to say, I really like this design despite where it came from. It's probably the chunkiest ship. It reminds me a lot of the Sulaco.
It does, doesn't it?
And that's no bad thing in my eyes. And
if the Sulaco was a prawn, this is how it would look.
Give up on the fucking prawns.
Fucking prawn. Fucking prawn.
So, I
Christopher Johnston.
Yeah, we've got to do District 9 just for the fucking prawn.
The fucking prawn. I thought we'd done District 9. I thought we'd done that. Just so we could insult everyone and do the vaguely racist voices again.
I would like to apologise to the few South African listeners we still had who have now left.
Who've now left. Anyway, so I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it my full 3 because I love the look of this thing when it's coming straight at you, and it reminds me a bit of like Ravager's ships. I'm going to give it, and it also looks like a gun. It looks a bit meaty. It's a bit. It doesn't look like a standard Earth Alliance ship, and to me that's quite a bonus. So that gives that a bonus of 6, which yeah. So
okay,
yeah. So the Warlock class destroyer has a score of 53, putting it
Deja vu.
putting it next to the G'Quan and the Centauri Primus. Whoa.
Wait, this is episode 35 and that is 53 backwards. Oh my god.
It's conspiracy. Quick, break out.
Half-Life 3 confirmed, guys.
Nice. So there you go. So this is welcome to the 3 men try to work out the way of getting 53 into a scorecast. And all 3 of them start off with 10 score, and well, there you go. So 53 points. So it's a draw. It's a complete.
Wow, that's going to make it fun deciding who goes first next time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think should we stick with last time or do we just flip a coin? I think we'll probably flip a coin. It's probably easier.
But that's only going to give us 2 options, dude. We've got 3 of us.
Yeah, well, you know that Andy's never going to go first because he's still Googling the bloody lot when we're talking every time. So it's only you and me, Pete.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Let's not kid ourselves.
I feel like I've been insulted. I'm not sure, but I think I have been.
Come on. You actually confessed last time that we had to stop recording because you went and Googled everything up for the Colossus.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that was because it was shit.
And the Shadow of Infinity.
And I actually watched bloody Lost Tales to do this. Thank you very much.
God, you suffered. You really suffered. So anyway, so there you go. So a draw all round for the Babylon 5 ships. So now it's just over to up to us now to tell you what we're doing next time. So let's start off with me. My ship that I'm bringing next time is the Dark Star from the film of the same name, starring Dan O'Bannon and a beach ball.
Boing.
And Pete.
I shall be bringing Benny's spaceship.
A Lego spaceship.
It's a bold strategy card, and let's see how that plays out.
And what about you, Andy?
I'm going to bring the not Millennium Falcon, the Ebon Hawk from the Knights of the Old Republic.
Nice.
Half a Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
No, it's not the Millennium Falcon. It clearly says not the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, it's brown.
Clearly says that.
It's brown. It's brown.
Yes, that's how you can tell the difference.
That's how you can tell. So there you go. So the Ebon Hawk, Benny's spaceship made of Lego, and the Dark Star, which is held together with toilet paper. So yeah, there you go. That's our that's our selection next time. I doubt we'll be having a draw next time.
No,
I think we'll be troubling the top 10 either.
I don't think we'll be troubling the top 10 either. No. So there you go. So do you agree with our scores this time round? Do you think the Babylon 5 ships should have been far more varied? Do you think in terms of scores? Then let us know. Get on Twitter. We're at Space Doc Jury, and you can also find us on the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Space Doc Jury. And of course, go to our website where you can leave comments for this episode, which is spacedocjury.com. And, of course, just a little call-out, we are having a feedback episode, mini-sode rather, where we'll be dealing with your questions, queries, and general ranting. And if you want to send in anything to that, send it into feedback@spacedocjury.com or send it in through our contact page on the website. So, until next time when we take Benny's spaceship, the Dark Star, and the Ebon Brown, then let's see you all next time. Take care. Thanks for listening. Until then, bye-bye.
Prawn to be wild.
I need a drink.
What's with the prawns? Why?
Space Doc Jury is a production by 3 Angry Beards.